All right, welcome back, Truth Seeker. We're live. Want to make sure you're seeing my screen right now. Let me check in with the chat before I go forward. Can you guys see the post that says Gematria Effect News at the top? Why would the NFL structure Super Bowl 54 49ers-Chiefs around Joe Montana? That's what should be showing up, but I'm seeing on the command screen that it's showing something else, and I don't understand why that is. Okay, just updated it. It looks like we're in business. Okay, Truth Seeker. So, let's get into this. Why would the NFL structure Super Bowl 54 around Joe Montana? Well, a big reason is Joe Montana in Gematria sums to 54, and if you know Joe Montana, his nickname back in his playing day was Joe Cool, which happens to equal 33. And the Super Bowl this year is on February 2nd, the 33rd day of the year, kicking off at 3:30, at least on the West Coast, back where Joe Montana used to win his Super Bowls. But anyhow, this is only the second time in NFL history that the Super Bowl is on February 2nd, the 33rd day of the year. The last time was Super Bowl 48, where the Seahawks defeated the Broncos in MetLife Stadium. But let's just go through all the components here. And, of course, the Super Bowl's 49ers and Chiefs. Joe Montana played for the 49ers. He went 4-0 in Super Bowls with the Niners. And then he went to the Chiefs for the final 2 years of his career, kind of after Steve Young took over for the Niners. But check this out. Going back to Joe Montana's playing stats, these are his stats here with the 49ers. His record with the 49ers was 139, which is a very interesting number for a number of reasons. Of course, this year is the 100th NFL season. Again, 100th NFL season, Joe Montana 54, concluding with Super Bowl 54. The 39 losses is also interesting. Wait a minute, what happened here? True Seeker, things are so wonky with this. Hold on, let me make sure you guys are seeing what you're supposed to be seeing. Okay, I believe you guys are seeing what you're supposed to be seeing. But I was showing Joe Montana's stats, and again, 139 with the 49ers. Again, 100th NFL season. The thing about 39 is in Gematria, 49ers also equals 39. Let me zoom this in a little bit. If you guys haven't used my website, it has a Gematria calculator as well. You can pick up my book here, put the posts here, a lot of information here. Rambo's got his own section here if you come to the blog. Just so you know, if you come to gematriaeffect.news, on the right side there's tabs. Rambo's got his own section. So if you enjoy Rambo's decodes on Wednesday nights, he's now going to be posting his content here, Rambo's Corner. And what I would like to do actually is get some logins for some more people who want to start posting and have their work seen. So get in touch with me if you're interested in getting your own spot on this site. Happy to create a login for you guys. It did take my web development team a little bit longer than it should have for Rambo, but they did get it done. So for other people interested, happy to pursue that. But anyway, getting back to this. Joe Montana. So he was 139 with the 49ers. Now the 100th NFL season, concluding with Super Bowl 54, structured around him. Remember, when you write out 100 as a word, it equals 54. And we just saw this in a huge way in the college championship. The college championship this year was on a date with 54 numerology in New Orleans. New Orleans equals 54. And the game was 54 days after the Clemson coach's birthday, and the Clemson quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, the game was on his 100th day of his age. And Trevor Lawrence fell to 25-1, losing to LSU in that game. 25-1's a lot like 251, the 54th prime. And each season, when you know Gematria, you'll see these parallels, the same numbers coming up between college and pro. So anyway, 154, a relationship we've been talking about all year. The name Joe Montana the big way is 108, just like when you write out 100, it's 108. And remember, this is a special number. Geometry equals 108 with the alphabetic order and the reverse alphabetic order. The shape of the football is a shape from sacred geometry, the Vesica Piscis, one of the most important shapes in sacred geometry. Vesica Piscis equals 53. Again, it's why you have the 53-man roster, the 53-yard wide field. And every year for the Super Bowl, they sow 108 game balls. 108. Each team gets 54. And that's not just true this year for Super Bowl 54. Every year for the Super Bowl, 108 game balls, because they're paying tribute to sacred geometry. And again, remember, American football is credited to Freemasonry. Freemasonry's symbol is the compass in the square, instruments of geometry around the capital G, which pays tribute to the grand architect, which is God, the geometer of the world. The Masons study sacred geometry. They study Kabbalah, where this code of letters and numbers comes from, Gematria, which means geometry and language. So this is why you see this done in sports. This is the understanding of the basis of this. It's not arbitrary. It's all Masonry. Again, 47 degrees on the Masonic compass in tribute to the 47th problem of Euclid and the 47th theorem of Pythagoras, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, which has to do with building and foundation and structure. The word foundation is 47, why the first Super Bowl was in the 47th season of the NFL. Why this nation's birthday, founded by Masons, is the 4th month, the 7th day. So now more about Joe Montana and why this Super Bowl is structured this year around him. Again, his birthday is June 11th. June 11th. Can be written 11/6 like 116, 116 points scored in the conference championships. We'll get to that. But from the Super Bowl this year, number 54, to his birthday is 131 days. And we're always educating about 131, the championship number. Every year this number factors into the ritual of a sports championship. And I mean every year without fail, they figure out a way to make this number central in the riddle. We were just talking about the Remember the Titans film. They even do it in that film. After they win the championship, there's a street celebration, and they show the guy celebrating on his porch with his house number 131 right next to him. But Super Bowl, championship, both equal 131. When you write out 57 as a word, it equals 131. Again, the 49ers just beat the Packers in the NFC Championship with 57 combined points, 37-20. They beat them this regular season, November 24th, a span of 57 days earlier. Again, for all the trolls who are saying all this works hindsight, which is just the dumbest thing you could ever write. Again, just the weekend before in the divisional round, I told my followers the safest parlay is take the Packers and 49ers to win, because it just makes too much sense for them to play in the NFC Championship 57 days later. And this NFL season has been a struggle for me, but to my credit and the community's credit, in week 3, we did suggest it was worth putting in a future for the 49ers and Chiefs Super Bowl. We saw the riddle in week 3 with what went on with the Niners and Steelers game. We'll talk more about that at the end. But again, this work isn't hindsight. This work is truly a brilliant study. Even if you don't get it right the first time, you still see how the patterns you're looking at, the same numbers, systematic every single time. And 2019 into 2020 has been my biggest struggle of a year with sports. But just to tell you how, even my biggest struggle year, let's just go over all the things we hit just for review. Last year's Super Bowl, still within the last year window, we had Patriots over Rams as the top pick for the Super Bowl, the one that we rode with pretty much all season. At the end, I did say you should hedge with Patriots and Saints, but a lot of people put it on Patriots over Rams to start the season. That's exactly what the Super Bowl was. We had that before the season even began. Next big pick, February, just days, like a week after the Super Bowl, I told my followers, put in a pick right now for Virginia or Duke to win the championship. It's going to be one of these two teams in college basketball. And before the tournament began, because of what had happened from February to the start of the tournament, we saw that Virginia was the team. I said I would double down on Virginia. They got the numbers. Virginia won the college basketball championship. NBA, I rode the Warriors hard all year because it was the 73rd NBA season. Steph Curry born on the 73rd day of the year. A few years earlier, they'd set the record with 73 wins. I did think the Warriors were going to win the championship, but I was able to save my followers because we did see that the Raptors would likely win in Game 6. And I said that would be a smart move to take Raptors to win in Game 6. Shout out to Simple Truth TV. He actually had the Raptors beating the Warriors before the finals started. Took me a few games to see it. And he caught it that it was all encoded in the Drake album, which came out the same day that I think it came out on the day Kawhi Leonard joined the Raptors or on Kawhi's birthday. It was one of the two. But anyway, the point is 57. The Warriors won 57 games in the regular season, ended up in the championship. NHL was very tough, but 57 hit again there. The Blues got their... I forget if the Blues got their 57th win in the postseason or gave the team that they defeated... And I have to go back now, I can't even think. Who did they play in the Stanley Cup? Was it the Penguins? Whoever they defeated got their 57th loss in the postseason, or they got their 57th win in the postseason. It was one of the two. What's next? And other things we got right this year. You know, we saw Djokovic was a lock to win Wimbledon. We know the women's team would definitely win the gold medal, or, you know, the World Cup championship. And again, it was all around these same numbers. College World Series, we had Vanderbilt because they had the 57. What else am I forgetting? Forgetting things. But anyway, the MLB World Series. Another one we got right. Now, it took a few tries to figure out the World Series, but we nailed it hard at the end of the season. We saw it would be Nationals over Astros, and all year we said the World Series would end in Game 7. Had it all mapped out. Astros picked up their 57th postseason loss, losing in the World Series to the Nationals. Nationals equals 57, World Series 57. And again, year after year, I've shown you, just season after season, year after year, 57, 131, 57, 131. It's just the same numbers. It's amazing how they do it, but they do it. And so anyway... Again, NFC Championship looked like Lock City for Packers versus Niners because of the 57 thing. You end up getting 57 combined points in the NFC Championship. Last year, the Rams advanced to the Super Bowl with a 57-yard field goal to beat the Saints. Rams also has that Gematria 57. Patriots had won the Super Bowl in their 57th season a couple years before that. So anyway... all the things I just said, I forgot some other... Oh, you know, we had Tiger Woods winning the Masters. I mean, that was huge. And we called that, almost a year in advance, that Tiger was going to get it this year. Nailed a bunch of golf tournaments. So, all the haters and people that troll and the pack of trolls that always leave their same bullshit comments that say everything's in hindsight, I mean, just please shut up. Again, I don't mean to toot my horn too hard, but nobody's ever done what I've done in the history of the world. Nobody ever broke this code. Nobody's called as many sports championships as I have in a relatively short period of time. You know, these are just facts. Nobody's ever done anything like this. And the pack of haters and dumb people who come around and this must be a coincidence. Oh, hindsight. Just please, shut up. It's not even all hindsight. You know, again, tough season. But you know what? By week 3, we'd come up with 4 scenarios for the Super Bowl, possibly 5. It was right around there, 4 or 5. Again, you put $100 on all 5 of those scenarios. One of them was 49ers and Chiefs. All of those scenarios paid way better than 5-1, so you would have been ahead. Okay, moving on. Let's go back to Joe Montana's Super Bowls. So, Joe Montana won Super Bowl 16, wearing the number 16, right? And remember what's on the side of the Niners helmet. SF. S is the 19th letter. In numerology, 19 is 1 plus 9 is 10. 1 plus 0 is 1. 1. F is the 6th letter. So SF is 1-6. 1-6 like Montana wore 16. And notice with the Chiefs, this is his Chiefs jersey, he wore the number 19. Here we are in the 2019-2020 season. Montana did win Super Bowl 19, and he beat Miami, who's hosting Super Bowl 54, and he beat them 38-16. 38-16, 54 combined points. And this is something we've been looking at. And the reason we still couldn't even pull the trigger on the Niners just seeing this stuff is because this year the riddles were just so incredibly tight. I'd never seen a season like this. Okay, so Montana wins Super Bowl 16, Super Bowl 19. And again, it's interesting that those were his first two because you add those numbers together, it equals 35. 35 is always a big number with the Super Bowl. The first Super Bowl was won with 35 points. QB equals 35, and the Chaldean and septenary ciphers, football and Super Bowl equal 35. You know, Mahomes just advanced to the Super Bowl winning with 35 points. It's another number. And Mahomes had 35 passing attempts yesterday as well. Okay. So Montana also won Super Bowl 23. The only Super Bowl that Montana won where he wasn't the MVP was Super Bowl 23. Jerry Rice was the MVP in that, and we'll talk about Jerry Rice too. But then he also won Super Bowl 24. Super Bowl 23 was won in Miami in Joe Robbie Stadium, which is the same stadium they're playing in this year. It's just called Hard Rock Stadium now, but it's the same place. 23 is the 9th prime number. You just had the shooting in Kansas City at the 9. 49ers, Niners. We'll be talking more about that this week on Patreon. And again, they won Super Bowl 24 as well in Louisiana, in New Orleans. That was with Joe Montana. New Orleans again equals 54 as well. So the last Super Bowl that Joe Montana won in New Orleans, 54. Again, this year Super Bowl 54. Again, Joe Montana 54. So makes sense why Joe Montana won his last Super Bowl in New Orleans. And then Steve Young would come along and help him win another one. Okay, now with regards to Jerry Rice, the only guy who won an MVP besides Montana when they were winning their Super Bowls, Jerry Rice is 57 years old right now. Jerry Rice equals 57. In yesterday's game, the camera spent it seemingly as much time on Jerry Rice as it did the game. And from Jerry Rice's birthday, October 13th, to the Super Bowl's 112 days. Now remember, when you run the alphabetic order in reverse, Super Bowl's 112. Chiefs is 112. And again, another significant number. We talked about how The Rock, who played college football at Miami, who's very much connected to this year's Super Bowl. Again, his father died on the anniversary of the 49ers advancing to the Super Bowl in the 75th season where they beat the Chargers 49-26, 75 points. The Rock being from the Bay Area, playing at Miami. Anyhow, he's in the show Ballers, which concluded its final episode, its 47th episode, while The Rock's 47 years old and Rock equals 47. But the final episode was October 13th. It was pointed out by Jeremy White. Shout out to Jeremy White, who did say that the Super Bowl would be 49ers and Chiefs. Jeremy always doing good work. He found me the year of Super Bowl 50, hosted by San Francisco that year, where I said in October it was going to be Broncos over the Panthers. Jeremy White won a ton of money off that pick, and he's been following and helping this community ever since. He was real big on Niners Chiefs this year. Shout out to Jeremy. But anyway, that show Ballers, in that season, The Rock, his character, buys the Chiefs. So no doubt this was predictive programming. It concluded the same day that Jerry Rice turned 57. The word Ballers 112. Jerry Rice known as a baller on the football field. And again, 112 days before the Super Bowl. Super Bowl has the 112 connection as well, like Chiefs. Jimmy G, born on November 2nd, 112. Played his first career start with the Patriots to start the year of Super Bowl 51 against the Cardinals on the 112th Meridian. And I told people that day, even though I'd been riding the Colts in the offseason, I was like, oh God, don't do this to me again, because I've said so many times when they have tributes with the Colts, they're actually for the Patriots. By week 3, I was like, I think it's a Patriots Super Bowl and not a Colts, which killed me because I'd put a pretty decent bet down on the Colts before the season began. Anyway, we did see that it was probably going to be Patriots that year, and sure enough it was. That's the year they beat the Falcons in the 25-point comeback on 2/5 to conclude the 97th season, 97 the 25th prime. But I'm just going back to Jimmy G. We were talking about that first start. I still remember the line. The Patriots were 13.5-point underdogs to the Cardinals, and I said, don't even flinch. Patriots got this game all day, and sure enough they did. Nice big payout by knowing the code. Nothing about hindsight, all about understanding the code and how it's scripted. Haters gonna hate, but Haters are missing out. Anyway, moving on. They're making a big deal about how this Super Bowl is the first one ever red versus red. And look at the gematria of red with the reverse alphabetic order. 54. With the regular alphabetic order, it's 27 like Miami. Like how the red team was up on the Packers 27-0 at halftime in Santa Clara, which equals 27, where a year earlier, Clemson 27 won their college championship. And if I remember right, they had 27 points at halftime. And again, Aaron Rodgers came out of the tunnel yesterday looking like he just heard the worst news of his life, like he knew that the script was in. He probably read the script and was like, oh my God, I have to be down 27-0 at halftime? Give me a better script in the second half, please. And it wasn't much better. But anyway, it's not an accident that this is the first red versus red Super Bowl and they're bringing attention to this. 54. Gematria tells the tale. And again, 59 points in the Chiefs game. That's the number stamped all over black history. Again, they called this the year of the black quarterback, ESPN did, and that article had a picture of Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson scored 59 points in Miami week 1. Yada, yada, yada. Same old, same old. And then again, the 49ers-Packers, 57 points, 59 plus 57 is 116. And again, Joe Montana's birthday, June 11th, 116. 116 points for the Joe Montana Super Bowl, you know? And it seems somehow I have a double post here. Weird. What happened? How did this happen? How do I have 2 posts? Hold on. I feel like there's something else I'm supposed to be talking about. Oh, yeah. So, Super Bowl 54 is the 50th Super Bowl of the modern era. And remember, the 49ers hosted Super Bowl 50. That Super Bowl was all about race. In October, I predicted why the white Broncos would beat the Black Panthers, led by Cam Newton, when Huey P. Newton founded the Black Panther Party in the Bay Area in '66, the year of the first Super Bowl season. But that year, I nailed it. You know, it's probably the best prediction ever, and it was early in my career doing this. Broncos over Panthers, had it in October, said why Von Miller would be the MVP, said why the game would be a tribute to Super Bowl 24, where the 49ers wasted the Broncos. 49ers ended up winning the Super Bowl with 24 points. And said why there'd be a big Black Panther tribute. And Beyonce was criticized as dressing up as a Black Panther. You know? Amazing to think that trolls 4 years later after, you know, how many correct predictions from then to now? I mean, just an insane amount. Very specific predictions, too. But people still trolling and saying all of my work is always in hindsight. I mean... You got to have a little pecker to troll like that, you know. Just be a jealous little hater, which is what all of you are, that troll. But anyway, San Francisco 50. They were once 5-0 in Super Bowls. Chiefs 50. Again, 50th Super Bowl of the modern era. How many years has it been since the Chiefs won a Super Bowl? Well, they won Super Bowl 4, so it's 50 years later. And they beat the Vikings in that Super Bowl, who the 49ers beat in the divisional round, which was a clue. A clue as to what was to come. And, you know, I missed this story. I was just doing some more research today, and I saw that on January 2nd, Joe Montana on his Twitter posted that he had a 49ers and Chiefs Super Bowl. Now, what's funny about that, January 2nd? That date can be written 2-1 like 21, and 49ers has gematria of 21 as well. And think about it. What's the Chiefs' record in Super Bowls right now? I'm just saying, what's the record? You know, it's 1-1. What would happen if they won? Again, I'm going to be going over who I think is going to win this Super Bowl between now and the Super Bowl. But again, just this is a thought here. Again, the Super Bowl is on 2/2/2020, so a date that has nothing but 2s in it besides the 0s, which don't matter in numerology. And again, how can the 2s play out right on the surface? If the Chiefs win, they get their second Super Bowl as the 2 seed. If the 49ers lost, they get their second loss in Super Bowls. So the Chiefs would get their second Super Bowl win. The 49ers would get their second Super Bowl loss. And Andy Reid, the coach of the Chiefs, would get his 222nd career win if he won the Super Bowl. And again, the Chiefs are the 2 seed. So, you know, does Joe Montana's Chiefs get some love? I'm going to do some more decoding. There's a narrative for the Niners, of course, too. Again, like I threw out yesterday, Patriots got the 6th championship last year. If the 49ers do win this year, they'll get their 6th. I would bank on the Cowboys winning next year if that happened, because the NFL and sports, they love to do their 6-6-6 tributes. So imagine Patriots getting the 6th, Niners get the 6th, Cowboys get the 6th. They're the only team that can. The Niners and the Cowboys are the only teams right now that can pick up their 6th championships. And just another thought. If the Niners did win, they would become the 3rd NFL team to have 6 championships. The Steelers got 6 first. Remember their rigged Super Bowls? My goodness. Probably the worst one in history when they beat the Seahawks. Just the Jerome Bettis retirement season. It was just, even the mainstream headlines were like, is the Super Bowl rigged? Of course it is. But Steelers and Patriots, who are both in the AFC, so no NFC team has 6 yet. The 49ers would be the first. But the 49ers would become the 3rd team to win 6. So you could, in a way, you could have a 6-6-6 tribute this year. And the reason that's interesting is if you just use the alphabetic order, A's 1, B's 2, C's 3, D's 4, and you write out 666, it equals 156. If you write out 33, it equals 156. Super Bowl's on the 33rd day of the year. And if you write out February 2nd, you have to spell out second, S-E-C-O-N-D, February 2nd, it equals 156. So, there's things on both sides. I'm going to be doing some more research. You got to like how Joe Montana's tweet, by the way, was at 33 minutes after the hour, right? 33. For the Super Bowl on the 33rd day. But, anyway, those are the main points. If you missed yesterday's video, we went deeper on the rituals with the Chiefs as well in their conference championship win. Back in October, I showed you how there was that shooting at the Tequila KC bar, which equaled 120, a span of 120 days from the Super Bowl, or 119 days earlier. And then on January 19th, you get another Kansas City bar shooting. The first one was on October 6th, 10-6, like 106. Tennessee equals 106, and that's who the Chiefs advanced over to go to the Super Bowl. And again, ESPN called this the year of the black quarterback, and the day of the Super Bowl leaves 333 days left in the year, and Patrick Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes' full name, which I think is Patrick Lavon Mahomes II, his full name equals 333. And again, only 2 black quarterbacks. And people get mad when I say black. He's mixed. He has white. I get it. Yeah, you're right. But I'm just saying, ESPN called this the year of the black quarterback. In our culture, we identify anyone who has black ancestry as being black. I know it doesn't really make sense, but I'm just speaking in terms of the cultural norms. There's been 2 black quarterbacks to win the Super Bowl. Again, Doug Williams and Russell Wilson. Both played for Washington teams. One the Washington Redskins, the other Seattle Washington Seahawks. And remember, 42, just that number stamped all over black history. The N-word, slavery, Tuskegee, and a million other things. Seahawks equals 42 as well. There is a 42 on the board in this Super Bowl. 49ers equals 42. And as was pointed out in the live stream earlier, on the same day that the Chiefs and 49ers advanced to the Super Bowl, the 42nd horse died at Santa Anita Park in California. And we talked about how, again, I don't remember what Breeders' Cup it was this year, but whatever Breeders' Cup number it was at Santa Anita Park, and if it was 35, or I need to go back and look. This is part of the research too. But if it was the 35th Breeders' Cup or the 36th or whatever it was, just days before that Breeders' Cup started, the 35th or the 36th horse, whatever number corresponded with that Breeders' Cup is what horse number died just before the races were run. And they were run at Santa Anita Park where all these horses keep dying. So I was saying then, and we've been covering it since the beginning, like when the first few horses died more than a year ago, we said, look at this. This is all ritualistic. And we've talked about how they sacrifice these horses by the numbers in years past as well. But they're doing something really big with all these horse deaths at Santa Anita Park. And then you get the 42nd. And remember, 49ers equals 42. The last field goal they kicked yesterday was a 42-yarder. The first one they kicked was a 54-yarder in yesterday's game. And again, This is why you have to know the base ciphers. Because again, 49ers, it has that gematria of 42. It's got the gematria of 15. Yesterday, January 19th, the day of the conference championships, was a day with 15 numerology. Again, Patrick Mahomes, number 15, advanced to the Super Bowl. The 49ers advanced. And Mahomes made the Titans 1-5 in conference championships. We know this is all about Joe Montana. Joe's got that gematria 15. I also spot the gematria 51, like how the Niners are 5-1 in Super Bowls. Joe cool. So, again, you got to know the ciphers. And just to tell you a story, this is a real story, a little bit of organic synchronicity in this today. I was taking Sweet Lady to the doctor, and while I was waiting in the lobby for her to come out, this man came in, and he was really having trouble moving, just walking so slow. He was a very big man, very big. And but he was just decked out. He had red sweatpants on. He had a 49ers jersey on. He had a 49ers cap on. And there was nobody else in the lobby. I live in a small town now. So imagine that, going to a doctor's office and being in the lobby with nobody else in there. First experience I've ever had like that in my life at a doctor's office, especially during flu season and when everyone's sick. But again, small town I'm living in. So what are the odds? This guy comes in all 49ers gear, and he sits down, and we're close to each other, and I looked up and I said, I got to ask you, man, who's going to win the Joe Montana Bowl? And he thought about it for a second. He's like, oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. He's like, well, the 49ers better win it. And I said, okay. I said, yeah, that's who my dad's cheering for, too. I said, funny as it is, my dad's a huge 49ers fan, but growing up, he's always in the AFC cheered for the Chiefs because he liked Len Dawson when he was a kid, which is absolutely true. So my dad's getting the Super Bowl of his dreams here this year. And I'll tell you what, my dad's getting pretty big, too. He better fix his diet, or this might be the last Super Bowl he sees. But anyhow, talking to this man, and then he asked, well, who do you think's going to win? And I said, I said it's tricky this year. I said, funny as it is, I said, part of how I make my living is helping people call the sports games before they happen. He goes, oh, how do you do that? And I said, well, it's a lot to talk about, but I said, here, let me just run some things by you that maybe you never thought about before. I said, when was the last time the 49ers won the Super Bowl? And he goes, over the Chargers, it was either 94 or 95. I said, yeah, it was the 94-95 season, and you're right. I said, do you remember how the 49ers won with 49 points in that game? He goes, oh, yeah. I said, do you remember how many points the Chargers scored? And he couldn't. And I said, well, if you go back and look, the score was 49-26. And I said, what's interesting about that is there was 75 points scored, and that was the 75th NFL season. And I said, I mean, doesn't it seem a little bit strange that the 49ers would score 49 points in the Super Bowl? And he's like, yeah, that is interesting. I said, well, if you look this up, you'll see that Joe Montana's birthday is June 11th. And, you know, the majority of the world writes that date 11/6, like 116. And I said, if you count up the points that were scored yesterday in the games for the conference championships, you'll see that 116 points were scored. And he was like, wow. He's like, that could be a coincidence, though. I said, yeah, it could. I said, but here's the thing. I said, what I do to predict games is this thing that almost nobody's ever heard of. And I said, a lot of people think it's coincidental until you put the pen to paper and prove the results, which I've actually done over the years. But I said there's this old practice of coding numbers into words which comes from Hebrew. It's thousands of years old. It's called Gematria. I said, you ever heard of it? And anytime I ask that question, I expect people to say no. And so far, out of the 1,000 times I probably asked people, I think all but 2 people have said no. Recently, an older woman who studied literature at University of Washington decades ago, she said they briefly studied Gematria back then. I was like, wow, that's cool. So UW Huskies, they were studying Gematria once upon a time. And the other time when I was driving Uber and Lyft, and when I asked that, this young woman was in the car. She's like, you know what? I've seen one of your videos before on YouTube. And I was like, yeah, you probably have. I've put out a lot. She's like, yeah, okay, I heard of that. And the only reason she'd heard of it is because she'd seen my YouTube video before. But so anyway, I tell them what it is. I say how it's about taking words that have relationships and, also the same numerical value. So I said to him, for example, I said, would you guess what Joe Montana equals? And he thought about it for a minute. He's like, not 54. I said, yes, 54. Yes, Joe Montana equals 54. And I said, while this is Super Bowl 54, it's also the 50th of the modern era. And I said both San Francisco and Chiefs equal 50. And I said, think about it. The Chiefs last won a Super Bowl 50 years ago, Super Bowl IV over the Vikings, who the 49ers just beat the weekend before. And the 49ers were once 5-0 in Super Bowls. And recently they hosted Super Bowl 50 between the Broncos and Panthers. And, you know, he was really getting into it. And then I was talking to him about, I said, did you notice how 57 points were scored in the Packers-Niners game? And he's like, yeah, that's right. And I said, if you go back to the November 24th game where the 49ers put it on the Packers, that was a span of 57 days ago. And then I was explaining to him the relationship with 57 and sports championships. Well, then the nurse came out to get him. But I could tell, even when the nurse came out to get him, he did like a double take with me, like he wanted to sit there and listen more. So, anyway, it was nice that happened because, again, it was just good practice to talk to somebody in public, in a public space about this, because I'm about to go down to Louisiana and do that all over New Orleans and Baton Rouge. But, again, if you approach this subject, when you're in the public and talking to people who you don't really know, don't make it seem conspiratorial, and don't even bring up the word rigged because people don't want to hear it. Just drop the knowledge and let them think about it. Because never once to this guy did I say the games are fixed or it's all rigged, even though that's absolutely what I know is going on. I mean, come on. Did anyone see Patrick Mahomes' touchdown run yesterday before the half? The Titans did not even try to tackle him. The last guy to get to him before the goal line did not even try to wrap him up. He just reached out his shoulder and bounced off him. I mean, and it's like that game after game. But, you know, it's better when you're introducing this to people to not be confrontational and just give them the info, you know. And try to always start, again, with an example that's not Gematria based. You know, you want to tell somebody about the LSU Clemson championship? Tell them about how in the fourth quarter of the game, the announcers themselves did a numerology lesson on the death of Billy Cannon, who, again, won the 59 championship for LSU over Clemson in New Orleans after winning the Heisman that year. Just like how Joe Burrow won the Heisman and then beat Clemson in the championship with LSU in New Orleans. It's the exact same scenario. But then and actually, I mean, I didn't tell this guy about any of the deaths or ritualistic murders, but still, I mean, the Billy Cannon one almost needs to be brought up. Again, Billy Cannon died May 20th, 2018, which is what they give the numerology a lesson on in the fourth quarter of that game, on the same day that Joe Burrow transferred to LSU from Ohio State. And with regards to Ohio State, don't forget that the big star player for the 49ers, the rookie on defense, getting all the recognition and awards, he came from Ohio State. And he wears the number 97, and Burrow equals 97. There's obviously something going on there with that, so I got to think more about that. But anyway, to answer the question again, this is why they would structure Super Bowl 54 around Joe Montana. And when you think about this, again, it speaks to what I've been saying for all of these years, that the superstars in these leagues were born and bred to be. They were named accordingly. I've always said and backed it up since I started this, that if you just look through the history of Super Bowls, they're ongoing tales, and you can see how some Super Bowls are connected decades apart, but you see that the score had to be a perfect ritual to foreshadow the next thing. Just like how Super Bowl 19, like this is the 2019-2020 season, Super Bowl 19, the 49ers won 38-16 over Miami, 54 combined points. Super Bowl 54 being hosted with Miami, now with the 49ers in it. And for all the people on Patreon who did a lot of research this year and dug really deep, again, awesome work you did, but like I routinely remind when people call in, I say, you know, digging deep, overanalyzing, sometimes it'll take you off the most surface level thing. And think about how surface level this was. 2019 season, Super Bowl 19, 49ers scored 54 points over Miami, again, where the Super Bowl is going to be. Joe Montana, number 16. The Dolphins go down with 16 points. Of course, when you write out 49ers as a word, it equals 163, which is the 38th prime. So that's why they scored 38. Gold equals 38 as well, just like how when the 49ers hosted the golden anniversary of the Super Bowl, it was on February 7th, the 38th day of the year, and it was won by Denver from Colorado, the 38th state. Colorado is also 38. All right. If anybody wants to call in and add anything, if you have any thoughts about, what could be taking place in this Super Bowl. I just noticed it's 3:33. I did not mean to do that. But anyway, the Super Bowl leaves 333 days left there. If anybody has any brilliant thoughts about, are we even still connected? Holy smokes. What is going on here? Are we even still connected? I'm just seeing how all of a sudden, like, all the bandwidth has gone on this. Am I even connected? Well, I see that it says it's buffering for you guys. It says 200 and some people are here, though, but something is definitely wrong with my bandwidth. And this just seems impossible that it could be this. It went back up. It seems impossible. I just recently paid more to quadruple the speed of my internet connection to make sure this doesn't happen. And it shouldn't be. Something is wrong. Caller?
Yep.
Hey, what's up, man?
How's it going?
It's going all right. How are you?
Pretty good. I wanted to kind of touch on a few things. There was some good stuff with, Joe Montana, with this being the year of him, because he was the one that he's kind of considered like the greatest quarterback of all time before Brady came around. And so now the narrative with Patrick Mahomes is people are saying that he has the chance to be the greatest quarterback of all time. So now with Joe Montana being at the games and kind of being at Super Bowl 54, this is kind of maybe passing the torch along to Patrick Mahomes. So that's... go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say that's a really great point. And then also another narrative that factors in there is Jimmy G, because he came over from the Patriots, and last year there was some little beef between him and Brady that they manufactured in the news, kind of Jimmy G saying that he's the better quarterback now. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so and that's the reason why I'm not 100% sold on who's going to win. Right now I'm going to pick Kansas City to win, but Jimmy G could be the guy that gets them their 6th Super Bowl ring. And I really think that 6 rings is really important in football. The reason why I'm going with Kansas City, though, is because of the year of the black quarterback situation. Mm-hmm. So 32 years ago is when Doug Williams won the title. In that same playoff year, Vikings went to the Saints and beat them. Then the Vikings traveled to San Francisco and actually upset San Fran, but then they ended up losing to Doug Williams in the AFC Championship. So this year, the Vikings went on the road and beat the Saints just like they did in '88, and then they went to San Fran and actually lost. So now I'm thinking that based on a black quarterback narrative, that year that Doug Williams actually won the title, he was playing for the Washington Redskins against the Broncos. Now, the Broncos had Mike Shanahan as their offensive coordinator. Now you got Shanahan on San Francisco, and Doug Williams is playing for a team that was a Native American team, and the Kansas City Chiefs is Native American team.
Right.
I even think both of the teams wore red. No, they didn't wear red.
Just to add to your thought real quick, remember, Native American in Gematria sums to 243, and right now the U.S. is 243 years old, and the Chiefs carry that, like you said. And there's a lot of historians that do say that, some of the Native people of this nation who've been forgotten in the history books were truly black people.
Black people.
So
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something, and also even if you look at the Redskins this year, they have a black quarterback that ended up starting at a certain point. I had to look in and see what game he came in.
Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins.
Okay, yeah. Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, from Ohio State. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he ended up starting. And is Ohio State like a native type of thing?
Well, it's the birthplace of football, Ohio.
Ohio, okay. That's interesting.
And Joe Burrow, who just won the championship, transferred from Ohio State to LSU the day that Billy Cannon died.
Wow. Okay. So I definitely think there's something there with that. And the last thing I wanted to say was, it dawned on me as I was watching the Kansas City Chiefs game that 20 years ago, you had a black quarterback on the Titans playing against the St. Louis Rams, and they ended up losing.
Right.
But the Rams is a Missouri team, just like Kansas City is a Missouri team.
True.
But this time they're playing against the Titans in the AFC, and Missouri team wins. But also you have the black quarterback like switch the sides of the ball.
Right.
So first the Titans had it, now they have it.
Right. Yeah, those are great points.
But yeah, that's all I want to say.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Great points.
Yes.
All right. Take care. Yeah, if anybody else wants to call in, the number is 509-731-0567. Also, something we talked about before the season began was the burning of Notre Dame in France. And because right around then you had, like the same time that happened, you had a coach from Notre Dame, as we call it here in the U.S., the college, die. And Joe Montana played at Notre Dame. So I think there's something about that, too. Caller?
Hey, Zach, what's up, man?
Hey.
Long time no talk. Hey, so a couple of 54 references I wanted to point out. So in the first couple of games, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but George Kittle had 54 reception yards in a few of the first games for the season. And then after the third game of the season against the Steelers, Garoppolo's touchdown to interception ratio was 5 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. So they were kind of like already kind of throwing that in our face, right?
So I just got to pause real quick to remind something that I meant to say. Okay, so Bobby, who calls in with astrology stuff a lot, he made a really awesome observation, and that's where I was like, God, man, we got to consider the Niners here. This is huge because the Niners got their 229th win in the modern era in the regular season, 229 on September 22nd, 22/9, which was, and again, 229 is the 50th prime number, and they got that over Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh equals 50 like San Francisco. And you might recall at the beginning of the NFL season, we were documenting all the 50 rituals each week too. We're like, man, this 50 is huge because, again, this is the 50th Super Bowl of the modern era. But when we saw the Niners do that against Pittsburgh, we were like, man, Pittsburgh's got 6 championships. Could this be a clue that maybe this year the Niners get their 6th?
Yeah.
So, and again,
one of the other points too is I remember when we were decoding the Browns game, you came across that 2-2-2 thing with Matt Breida having that big game, remember? And what's his name? Andy Reid's going for his 222nd win
on 2/2/2020, and if you write out February 2nd as words, it even equals 222.
Right, and you bring up that point about Super Bowl 19. I was talking to a friend of mine who I'm trying to like show this Gematria stuff to. He's like starting to get into it and starting to believe a little bit, and he actually made a point when I started talking about Super Bowl 19. How the Dolphins back then are kind of like the Chiefs. They're like the high explosive offense, right? And they were led by Dan Marino,
right?
And so I started looking into that, and it's funny. Dan Marino finished that Super Bowl 29 completions out of 50 attempts.
So
he had 50 attempts in that game
against San Francisco, 50, and then 29 is the football number. So I mean, it makes perfect sense why.
Yeah, and so he had 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. So, I mean, that can go a couple of different ways. I always go off of, the gut feeling here. And I think, with all these 50s, Super Bowl 50 that the Niners hosted, and I don't know, I think the Niners are going to pull this out because, Dwight Clark was a big player in those eras in the 80s too, and his death, the anniversary from the Super Bowl to his anniversary date is 42 days. So that's a pretty big point that I think that he was the big receiver for Montana. That was like his favorite receiver other than Rice.
Right.
And then the other point that I wanted to make was from the last Super Bowl in '95. If you measure from that date to this year's Super Bowl, it's 25 years and 4 days. And in reverse ordinal, San Francisco 49ers is 254. So I just feel like they're supposed to be here, like they're supposed to win this one and get that championship.
There's good arguments on both sides right now, so I'm glad I got 2 weeks to really comb it out. But it's very clear that the riddle is within Joe Montana. The right answer is in Joe Montana.
Yeah. Yeah, and the whole thing, I don't know, with Marino and being like the big quarterback back then, it's like Mahomes is that guy now, you know? And Garoppolo kind of takes on that role of Joe Montana. And I think 83 was their first Super Bowl, right?
The Niners, the first, I think it was before, no, it had to be before 83 because I wasn't alive when the Niners won their first Super Bowl. It was 82. It was the 81-82 season.
Oh, okay, so the Super Bowl 19 was their second Super Bowl then.
Right, because they won Super Bowl 16 with number 16 Montana.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah. And I haven't really looked into like the father-son combo of the coaches, but there was an article I read that this could be the first time that's ever happened with them both winning a Super Bowl, so that could be a good point too.
Well, remember, his dad, Mike Shanahan, won Super Bowl 33, and now the Super Bowl's on the 33rd day of the year.
Right.
And
didn't he used to coach for the Niners too?
Mike Shanahan, he's been all over the place. Very, very possibly. Just a reminder, too, Kyle Shanahan's birthday is, well, the Super Bowl is 50 days after his birthday, something we've been talking about all year, too. That was the other 50 piece the Niners have had just right on the board that we've seen since before the season began. So.
And it was also 100 days to the start of the season. Did you know that?
Oh, Shanahan's birthday was 100 days before the start of the season?
Yeah, so from the start, from September 5th to the actual birthday, it was 100 days.
Wow, so yeah, he had, wow. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I'm thinking that there's some kind of connection, too, with the father, because I think that he did coach, and so did Andy Reid. He was also in the Bill Walsh era, like he was an assistant coach somewhere with the Niners.
Yeah.
So this is all tying into the 49ers somehow.
Well, and you know, by LaFleur losing yesterday, the only other rookie coach to make it to the Super... Well, there's been 2 rookie coaches that made it to the Super Bowl, but the last was George Seifert when he coached the 49ers. So the 49ers kind of protected that by beating LaFleur of the Packers yesterday.
Oh, man, I did not know that. That's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny. All right, man, run on. Get back to the stream, all right?
All right, take care, man. See you.
All right.
All right. For all the people calling in, again, I can only take one call at a time. It's not a call board, but the line is back open. Here, let me just call this guy back because he's actually the guy that gave me the stat on Billy Cannon, so maybe he has some money in the bank again. Here, I'm calling him back. Hopefully he picks up.
Hello?
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up good? Hey, I was calling, the thing you said about, I know the show Ballers, I don't watch it, but what you said about Ballers and you broke it down with the 47 and the Chief, could you do that repeat that one more time so I can catch it?
Okay. Let me go slower. So if you look up Ballers, the TV show on Wikipedia, here, I'll just do it right now. It ended this 5th season, right? It's all done. And it ended on the 47th episode. And remember, The Rock's the star in this show. The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Dwayne The Rock
just died.
Right, his father just died on the anniversary of the day that the 49ers advanced to the Super Bowl in the 75th season where they won over the Chargers 49-26, 75 points, and his dad died at age 75. But The Rock's 47 right now. The first Super Bowl was in the 47th season of the NFL. His show Ballers, 47 episodes. And in the 5th season, his character buys the Kansas City Chiefs. And the season ended October 13th, which was Jerry Rice's birthday, and exactly 112 days before this Super Bowl. And Super Bowl's 112, and Chiefs is 112. So, I mean, how perfect. And again,
he's from the Bay Area too, right?
He's from the Bay Area, and he played college football at Miami, where the championship is this year.
But you know what? Something like that, we would have never caught something like that at the beginning of the season about Ballers and the Rock or whatever. We would have never caught that at
Well, the season ended in October, and I've never watched this show before, so I didn't even know about it. It was Jeremy White who brought it to my attention, so he's the one who caught it.
So the way things are looking like everything is pointing towards San Francisco. The way it's looking to me, it look like everything.
No. Everything isn't pointing to them because remember, again, the Super Bowl is on 2/2/2020, all twos. And if you write out February 2nd as words, if you write it out, it equals 222. Andy Reid can get his 222nd win. The 49ers can get their second Super Bowl loss. The Chiefs can get their second Super Bowl win. They're the 2 seed, and they come into this Super Bowl having only been in 2 Super Bowls. So, I mean, that's a narrative right there. That is a lot of 2.
But you always see them flipping the script. You know how they can flip the script.
I just know if I study Joe Montana for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to get this right. That's what I know.
And one more thing about Kyle Shanahan, he was the offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons when they blew their lead to the Patriots.
Was he really?
Yeah, he was the offensive. That's how he got the 49ers job.
Okay. Oh, funny. Okay. I didn't realize that. Good catch.
Yeah. Wow. So I wouldn't sleep on San Francisco. I think San Francisco might upset them. Just to throw everybody off.
Well, I won't be surprised if by the time the game comes around, the 49ers are the favorite. Because I know that they opened up with, like, the Chiefs as a 1.5-point favorite. But, like, all the mainstream media is like, oh, I'm definitely taking the Niners as dogs. I won't be surprised if by game time, the Niners, if it's even or the Niners are the favorites. So
I didn't even know about that. Joe Montana picked the Chiefs and did the playoff bracket on January 2nd. I didn't even hear that story.
I didn't hear it at all, too. I found it today waiting in the doctor's lobby office just doing more research on if they'd done any riddles with Joe Montana. And then I just found this article. I was like, the article was posted January 3rd, but he made the pick January 2nd. And again, that's another one that the fact that he made the pick on January 2nd, 2-1. If the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, they are 2-1 in Super Bowls.
Did he pick who will win the Super Bowl?
No, he said he's not going to pick. He's not going to pick who's going to win it. He says he's happy either way.
Oh, my God. I'm thinking about how they did the Clemson. You remember the Clemson LSU? I didn't find out about the Joe Burrow thing. I didn't find out about it until the fourth quarter when the announcers was talking about it in that game.
Man, isn't that stat? It's so amazing how they did that. And then the announcer starts off by going 10-10, 20-20. And the ball's literally on the 10-yard line with the yellow marker for the first down at the 20. They're showing Joe Burrow. They're going back and forth between the 20-20 and Joe Burrow while he's giving a numerology lesson on 20. And behind Joe Burrow's head is this big, bright orange thing with the number 20 on it. It's just like, God, look at this, man.
You see what time it started? It was like 11 minutes and 11 seconds on the clock when it started. It was something like
10-10. He goes 10-10 on 20. 10-10 left in the fourth quarter and 20-20. That's what he said. And then, 10 plus 10 is 20. And then he gives the numerology lesson on 20. And he does a numerology lesson about the death of Billy Cannon, man. How sick is that?
Yo, Zach, when we be having the Chiefs like that. I know you pick Clemson all year, but sometimes like in the movies, they have like 4 or 5 alternative endings. They have alternative endings in some of these shit sometimes just to throw it off sometimes, and the numbers still add up how they wanted to add up.
Right. I rode Clemson from July. I wasn't going to come off them, but the whole time that I was riding him, I didn't know about this Billy Cannon, Joe Burrow thing. I got to tell you, had I known that before the game, I would have said, okay, I'm taking LSU, man, because there was already some...
But you know what it was? When all the people was dying, we were thinking about the Saints, not really thinking about the college football team LSU.
Right.
That's
how I always preach. If you take the pieces of the puzzle and you put them together wrong, you're going to come with the wrong outcome, and that's what happened this year. Because I overlooked something so simple that the college championship was in New Orleans, which I knew, but it was also on a date with 54 numerology, and that's why we saw so many Louisiana deaths this year in connection to 54. And then now you go back and measure them all. They're all perfectly synced with the college championship. Just like how the first one was Nancy Parker, the New Orleans news anchor whose name equals 54. She died exactly 150 days before that college championship. to conclude the 150th college season, and she died in a plane crash, and plane crash equals 97, like Burrow, like Orgeron, like how 97 is the 25th prime, and they held Clemson to 25 points, and Tyshawn Dye for Clemson died at age 25, and Trevor Lawrence stayed on 25 wins. So yeah, I mean, I made a simple mistake in not connecting that extra piece with the college championship. Could have made a world of difference.
Zach, the missing piece was the Billy Cannon. We didn't know about Billy Cannon early in the season. We know LSU was probably going to be there, but we didn't know how Billy Cannon. That's 1959. Who knows what Billy Cannon is 1959? And you see news media didn't say nothing to the last minute. That's when they start talking about it. They talk about everything else.
And then in Gematria, Billy Cannon equals 59, LSU Tigers 59, Freemasonry 59. So you know that was the ritual back then with him winning the Heisman and championship.
Yeah. So, and any way I look at it, I think we be on it. It's just be so many little stuff out there that we can't catch everything. We can't catch everything, right?
Well, it is true, man. Well, you know, we could if we had enough people and we were doing a little bit better research. But this year was just, you know, I mean, these types of things happen in life, ebbs and flows. This year, for me, was the year of omissions and overlooked and maybe being a little bit lazy in some of my decodes. I mean, so...
But I look like this, that even though like sometimes we don't get the championship on, but we be having the right pieces. Even though we be wrong, but we showing you what they doing. It don't matter what the results is, but we showing you what they doing. They got different scripts for how they ever wanted to be. We just telling people how it is. So when people say, oh, Zach, you was wrong, but I was showing you what's leading up to that point. They can change it how they want to change it at the end.
Well, and hey, to our credit, we did say in week 3, it was like I put out 2 more scenarios that week that were worth a future. I said, God, man, could they do the Jimmy G Brady Super Bowl, or could it be 49ers and Chiefs, the Joe Montana Super Bowl, since it's the 50th of the modern era and they were coding all those 50s? So, I mean, we did see it early in the year as a possibility. It just this year I couldn't zero in on which narrative they were going with because they floated so many things. I was like...
But Zach, it'd be like that in all sports. It's like Toronto. If you knew about the Drake stuff, you would have been on Toronto. You didn't know about the Drake stuff till almost when the finals started. That's when you start finding out all the Drake album and all that other stuff. We didn't know about the Drake, Kawhi Leonard, all that. See, it's so much stuff out there. That's how clever they are.
Right, and it seems like they're getting more clever. So, yeah.
So don't be hard on yourself when you don't get the championship. If you be on the right point, you know what I'm saying? It's about the knowledge. And people need to bet what they can afford to lose. And that's how I see it.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that's exactly right. I mean, that should be what people do. So, yeah, I appreciate it.
Just like last year, you thought Tiger was going to win the Grand Slam. He won the Masters, but he didn't win the Grand Slam. But it be like that sometimes.
Sometimes I wonder if we put too much money on that Tiger Grand Slam and threw it off because one guy put so much on it he was poised to be a multi-millionaire had it hit, and I'm just like, we might have changed history, man. So.
I know. I'm about to let you go, Zach, but I think Tiger might win the Masters this year too. This coming up, because I think this next one would be a special number. He win this next one, right?
I got to go back and revisit that. It's been a minute since I looked at Tiger. All right.
Well, I think all right.
The dude keeps calling in. I'm going to switch over. He's been trying real hard to get in. All right, appreciate it, man. You take care.
Okay.
What's up, caller?
Hey, Zach, did I make the video?
You made it.
Okay. I'm sorry. All right, well, the black quarterback parallel. Okay, look at this funny thing. This is what I find funny about the NFL. Okay, the guy who runs the 49ers is John Lynch, right? He used to wear number 47 as safety. He's most known for playing with the Broncos.
And
right?
Sam Weish died at 74 this year, the same day that Lynch got honored, like his number retired with the Bucks or something like that. There was some. I got to go back and revisit that. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but because I see this black parallel, I think Mahomes is gonna get destroyed for the Super Bowl. Honestly, on the 33rd day, all this stuff, he's getting all these parallels. But because his birthday is 131 days span to the Super Bowl, and that's 4 months and 9 days and he's going to turn 49.
Interesting.
But with the black quarterback thing, I think Mahomes is gonna pull a Cam Newton and let Jimmy G get the 6.
Well, I was thinking about that just because Super Bowl 50 was all about race and they punked the black quarterback Cam Newton. The difference between that year and this year is they did not call that year the year of the black quarterback and lead it with an article with a picture of Patrick Mahomes. So.
And I would have never called you tonight if they didn't score 59 points. Like, I had to call. Like, they scored 59 total points in the game.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's leading up to it. It's on the 33rd day, and they might win. You know, the odds maker has them to win, but it's looking like the 49ers are going to win. I don't know. They have a lot of people. The new running back number 31. They have a good team.
Remember running back number 31. His birthday's April 9th, 4-9 for the 49ers. And this year, April 9th, because it's a leap year, is the 100th day of the year, like the 100th NFL season. And he had a very numerical game yesterday. So.
Yeah, and I mean, John Lynch. He played for the Broncos. That's what I remember him from playing for the Broncos.
And the Bucks. I think he played with both teams.
Yeah. He played for both, but you know, like it just doesn't make any sense in this year. The black quarterback thing. I don't think he wins. Like, he can't win.
You're right to look at the Broncos narrative because, again, the Broncos and 49ers were part of that Super Bowl 50 race ritual, and it was a tribute to Super Bowl 49 where the 49ers wasted the Broncos 55-10. So, yeah, I hear what you're saying. I'm going to be doing a lot more research this week.
And it's in Miami. You know, that 27, that ritual. You know, it's perfect for the ritual.
Right. Well, that's the AFC's narrative because they can tie up the NFC with 27 Super Bowl wins.
Well, the AFC, they also can wait to the 103rd season to get it. That's what I've been thinking.
That's possible.
That's too far ahead, so.
Yeah, it could be.
But, I mean, we'll see.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Good points.
All right.
Take care, man. Caller?
How are you, General?
Did you call me? What did you say?
Yes, you are a general. Actually, the general of the main army is right now we're fighting demonic forces, and you know it. I know it. And right now, your quartermaster has called in to let you know that from what I told you last week about the database, it's being done.
Right.
So if you have 2 seconds, if you can open up a tab on your desktop, I'll tell you exactly what I have.
I'm ready.
Bible. You're doing a stream, sir?
I'm on a live stream right now. What do you want me to look up?
Bible Wheel.
BibleWheel?
.com.
BibleWheel.com. Okay.
Bible Gematria.
I'm not sure this is the same thing you want me to look up. Maybe. It says... yeah, Bible Wheel. Yeah. BibleWheel.com. Okay, the first thing that comes up is answers for Christina.
It's Gematria Bible Hebrew database.
I think I'm on a different site. This doesn't look like it's about Gematria.
Okay. But it's Bible, BibleWheel.com.
Oh, you're not saying Bible?
Yes, Bible.
BIBLE wheel.com.
Yes.
Okay, well, maybe that's the site. I'm not seeing any Gematria stuff here, though.
Okay, then Google Bible Gematria.
Okay.
Full text Hebrew Bible Gematria.
Okay. All right, where are we going with this?
Basically, what I'm actually doing, and I've been doing for the last month, is I'm compiling the actual Bible in a database with all the verses, all the words of the Bible, and this will be interconnected with Gematria. So right now, I actually have it's done. I'm just doing the
be all the sports. So right afterwards, I'm going to do all the leagues, all the sports, and all the Gematria attached to them. So when we're going to look up any number, it's going to be all indexed together.
Okay, very cool.
And this is because I have my interface, like the way you do your decoding, I have my own, and I'm doing my, so I have an interface I do actually your work with, so I'm going to translate that interface as my main in order to do actually sports decodes.
Okay.
All linked together.
Awesome. I'll bookmark the site and keep an eye on it. I appreciate it.
No problem. Oh, no, but sorry, no, because I was going to show you an example of what I'm doing, but when I'm going to do it, I'm just going to call it something else with Gematria, but I'll let you know.
Okay.
So thank you, Gerald, Zach, and continue what you're doing, man.
All right, will do, man. Appreciate you building this site. Looking forward to it. You take care.
You too.
All right, see you now. All right, let me bookmark it real quick. Keep an eye on this one. All right. So it's biblewheel.com/gr/gr_database.php. So if you do the web search, though, it'll come up. All right. If anybody has any more thoughts they want to share just on this very first glance into Super Bowl 54, we got a caller. What's up?
Hey, Zach. One point that I forgot to bring up when I called you a few minutes ago. In the Super Bowl with Doug Williams, he actually passed for 4 touchdowns in the second quarter. And he was the first guy to ever do that. So then Pat Mahomes against the Texans passed for 4 touchdowns in the second quarter, and the announcers had kind of put it on the screen like this is the first guy since Doug Williams to do it, and it was just so like so shocking to see that. So that's another connection with the Doug Williams and the 1988 Super Bowl. And again, that was 32 years ago, and NFL equals 32.
So does Negro, since they called it the year of the black quarterback. But keep in mind, Redskins equals 54, just like how Alex Smith, he broke his leg with the Redskins last year in something very ritualistic 33 years after Joe Theismann did it to the day. And wow. Smith played for the 49ers and Chiefs. And his broken leg is 441 days before Super Bowl 54. Again, Redskins 54, who he broke his leg with. 441 has a square root of 21. 49ers does equal 21, but again, the Chiefs could improve to 2-1 in Super Bowls over the 49ers. And don't forget that Joe Montana, who played for the Niners and Chiefs like Alex Smith, he just put out his Super Bowl pick on 2/1 for Niners and 49ers to meet in the Super Bowl. So,
and one thing I wanted to ask about that, though, Zach, I feel like the Chiefs don't actually have Super Bowl era titles, do they? Or is it just NFL champion, or just like AFL champion?
No, they got a Super Bowl. They won Super Bowl 4 over the Vikings.
Wow. Okay. So the 2-2-2 thing, I didn't know that. Okay. So they won Super Bowl 4. What they got brought up was very interesting about the John Lynch thing. I only know John Lynch from actually playing for Tampa Bay. So he played there for 11 years. And he only played in Denver for 4 years. So now he's at the 49ers, so you can kind of see the 4 connection there.
Right.
But also, like I said, Shanahan Sr. was the actual offensive coordinator the year that they lost to Doug Williams. But then he ends up going on to be the Broncos head coach, and he ended up winning 2 Super Bowls with the Broncos. So that's, again, with the number 2, like the only reason why this Shanahan for the 49ers is important is because his dad won 2 Super Bowls.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
That was it, though. But thanks, though, Zach.
All right, you're welcome, man. Take care. All right, you guys. We can leave it there for now and be doing a lot more decoding on Patreon. But just wanted to throw this one out there for people. Give them a little information, a little something to think about. Let the trolls make fools of themselves in the comments, as they always do. Because, again, the only people doubting what we've proven in the last 5-6 years are fools. Period. Actually, one more call. What's up, caller?
Hey, Big Zach.
How you doing out there, buddy?
Doing all right, man. How are you?
Yeah, I got a little spank there. I had a little back door open there, so with the San Francisco and Chiefs, but I'm a big boy. I can take it. I don't hold anybody accountable, like some of these other people. But I fixed the decode. I will go back and listen to it, but just give me your bullet point, the top find that you got, please, sir.
Did you just tune in? I don't know how much you missed.
No, I just picked up. I'm going to go re-listen to everything, but just give me a quick 1 or 2 sentence thing because I know you're busy.
Okay, so obviously it's the Joe Montana Super Bowl, and I know that last year you were real big on the Alex Smith broken leg because both of these guys played for the Niners and Chiefs, but Joe Montana equals 54. His nickname Joe Cool's 33. We got Super Bowl 54 on the 33rd day of the year. He won 100 games with the 49ers, 100th NFL season. And it turns out on January 2nd, which I wasn't aware of, there was a story about Joe Montana picking the 49ers and the Chiefs to play in the Super Bowl.
Oh, Jesus. Well, that would have been a find.
Well, what's interesting about that day is it can be written 2-1, like 21. And it just has me thinking if the Chiefs did beat the Niners, they'd be 2-1 in Super Bowls, and 49ers equals 21. And again, if the Chiefs did win, there'd be a lot of 2 because, again, the Super Bowl's on 2/2/2020. Andy Reid can get his 222nd all-time win. If you write out February 2nd as words, it equals 2/2/2. The Niners can get their second loss in a Super Bowl. The Chiefs can get their second win in a Super Bowl. And, again, they're the 2 seed. The Niners are the 1 seed in the NFC. Chiefs 2 seed in the AFC. And, again, just all the 50 stuff. If you were do you remember back when the Steelers-Niners game, Week 3, how it was pointed out that the Niners could get their 229th win in the modern era on 22/9, 229, like 229, the 50th prime, and it was San Francisco versus Pittsburgh. Both cities equal 50. Remember how at the beginning of the year there was a whole... There was all these 50 rituals, and we're like, okay, the 50 could be bigger than the 54 this year since it's the 50th Super Bowl of the modern era. And that was the week where I was like, I hate to do this to you guys because you already have 2 or 3 futures already for the Super Bowl, but we might have to add 2 more here. And I said it could be this Brady Garoppolo thing, or I said maybe even 49ers Chiefs since we're looking at them and they both got the 50 connection. So I mean, that was an idea we came up with early in the season, and yeah, just the way it's all synced up with Joe Montana, I should have done more work on that at the time because it is just amazing how it all lines up.
Hey, listen, look, nobody can fool you. Nobody can fool me because we were on the Titans for a while. There was narratives going both ways. I just want to shout out Jeremy White because I saw that. And, dude, when I saw it, and I think one thing we failed to do as a group, I'm not pointing any blame to anybody because it's a we thing here. I saw that referee come out, number 99.
Yep.
I texted my guys. I thought it was Clint Blakeman, the 52 guy, whatever his name is, Bill Venovich.
He's in the Super Bowl. He's the Super Bowl ref.
Yeah, and that's what they text me back. But I don't think we covered who was refereeing. Did we this time around?
I saw that too when 99 came out for the Chiefs game, and I was like, shit, I forgot to do the refs for these conference championships because, yep, Patrick Mahomes Jr., Arrowhead Stadium, 99, yep.
As soon as I saw that, I'm like, and then, of course, the panel, as you know, was all picking the freaking Titans. I'm like, whoa, that's another red flag. And I'm like, well, I wasn't worried because I had some backup coverage with that. But what I needed to do was to lay a decent amount of money, which I have, and I could have covered my back door, which was the San Francisco Chief thing, and I could have won some money. I would have had to lay a decent dollar. But look, you can't be greedy in this. It's like a business, So, but hey, listen, lesson learned. And I'm leaning towards the – are you leaning right now? I know it's early. Are you leaning towards the Chiefs to win this? From the early decode?
Like I said at the very beginning of the year when that story came out before the first game was played, year of the black quarterback, ESPN usually gives the clue. Mahomes was the guy in that. And again, the Super Bowl leaves 333 days left in the year. Mahomes' full name equals 333. So I have
I'm going to tell you what, we found another clue, Ed. And I told my guys, we're not going to give this one out. But something that we saw, it's a clear picture of that we can see the Chiefs winning this. I mean, there's never a clear picture, you know what I'm saying, brother? So anybody that wants to blame anybody because we let people stray, or I let people stray, look, we listen to everybody's with them. Please don't shut anybody down. Sometimes, some people get long-winded or whatever. Some people are very detailed. I think as a group we can come across this stuff. But I'm going to tell you what, and I'll have a call the next time they have this live stream. I don't want to elaborate on it because, like I told these guys, this is a gold fight. And what we saw something, bro, it's basically big Mahomes getting the crown, I believe. So the championship crown. So we see what's going to go happen. But I will call again. When is your next decode?
Here, I'm just going to tell you one more thing. Again, something I said earlier in the decode is we might have overanalyzed a lot this year because a lot of times it's surface level. And again, Super Bowl 19 was won by the Niners over Miami, 38-16, 54 points. 2019. Yes. I mean, that's the way I used to pick games. I just, see things like that, like, look at that, man. They're telling you.
Damn, there, bro, right there. Because, I did hear we did like a free thing on, I guess, on YouTube or whatever for everybody. I don't know if that was Patreon or was it free. I don't know, but whatever. I heard part of it, so I heard some of this. But I'm going to go right through with a fine-tooth comb. And, I'm really liking the Chiefs on this, boss. I wish you a great trip. You're going to be heading down to Louisiana soon. Maybe I could throw you a couple of bucks, but I did take a little spanking here.
No. You save your money, man. Don't worry about it. But I'm going to be. I get into New Orleans the night of January 29th, and then I'll start pounding the pavement the next day. And so I'm going to be down there over the Super Bowl weekend too. So.
Sweet. Yeah, I wish I had some extra cash to go, but I'll get 2 good kids through college. But real quick, I want to go into something I'm going to talk about on the show, which is kind of related to this. Because I heard part of one of your videos you did, but I didn't listen to it entire because I was shopping, kids for college, all this other nonsense. But check this out. You were talking about this guy came out in a catatonic state, right? Rogers, when he came out the tunnel?
He did.
Now, let me tell you something, bro. I sat in the sauna with a guy at the gym who was going to go into UFC, and he was on the top card. Okay? The guy from my hometown, bro. Brian Keller. Right? He was on the McGregor card. He never fought on the top card. At first he was scheduled at the bottom part of the card. And this dude walks in, and I won't even get too much into this, so I'll tell that maybe on the show, because I don't tie people up. But I was talking to Big D. Big D watched all the fights. I didn't, because I wasn't paying the crap. I said, you should have called me. I would have came over and checked out the fights. But I heard you kind of start like, I questioned this guy, bro. I talked to his brother first, and then I realized that this is the brother that trained the guy that fights. And he comes in, and I said, Brian, I know you would never throw a fight, blah, blah, blah. And this guy he's an older guy, but he's only been fought 6 times. He was 3-3 going in and made it 4-3. But he had an alignment big time, and it came through. He won. And now watch this. So I said to him, I said, I know you would throw a fight. I said, go get him. You're going to be champ one day, maybe, Brian. Go get him. Now watch this. I called Big D. I said, hey, and he made this analogy. He said, look, when I go in there, I'm risking my life. He goes, and it's just for a payday. If I win, I get double. Well, I said, that's cool. But him or his brother who trains him were not buying that it's rigged. Maybe they don't know. But he goes, but when you talked about that catatonic state that Rogers had, this is my assessment. And Big D said this. He says, John, like when they sent me to war, or they send the soldiers to war, yeah, the war is real, but they don't know what the real reason why they're going into, and who's really behind it, and who's orchestrating it, who's manipulating it. But then we were talking about, the MK Ultra and stuff, and the handlers, and how they get them in their disorder. I don't want to mispronounce it, but they get their minds mixed up. I believe that might have been a handler who said a couple of buzzwords, and he went into like this mode where he had to play shitty, okay? Because they could we're talking about a group of people that practice magic, okay? Call it black magic, whatever you want to call it. It's practiced by the occult, and a couple of buzzwords, and any one of these people, especially the quarterbacks, can be put into a certain state, a couple of buzzwords. So I think that is what had happened when Rogers came out. Maybe like he was told he had to lose on purpose, or whether there was some type of buzzwords that put him in like this, like fog. Or like you said, looks like the guy was told his mother's going to be murdered or whatever. This is what they do. This is how they operate. They operate on almost like a wicked spiritual plane. And maybe that's what it is. I'll be more clear with my thoughts next time on it. But I believe that these people, whether it's Rodgers, maybe all the quarterbacks, are under some type of mind control. And their programmers, their handlers, because I read a book called Transformation of America, and that's what happens. Their handler says something, boom, they go into another personality, another thing. You see what I'm saying?
Well, that's what they say in MK Ultra. It's about hand signs and key words that put these people in the trance. Their minds are essentially programmed. And again, there's been a lot of examples. One of the best ever was after George Springer won the World Series with the Astros. That he was the World Series MVP, and of course he was on the Sports Illustrated cover that said the Astros would win the World Series that year. But he went on. They interviewed him as soon as the game was over, and they asked him like how he felt in the moment, and he had this big wide-eyed stare, and he's like, I don't even know where I am right now. I don't really remember anything. I was like, wow, that's his response to winning the World Series, that he doesn't know where he is and he's lost? Okay.
Yeah, there's definitely a clue that we found, and we pieced it together. And I told Murray, even if this hit or if it don't hit, especially if it hits, just mail Zach everything you had. And it was pretty detailed. But that guy, he is incessant. He was all over some stuff. We found some interesting stuff, but we found a very big clue, brother, that's kind of pointing to the Kansas City Chiefs. And I told the guys, maybe I'm going to have them mail something. I don't, because I know the powers that shouldn't be, as you say, are listening. And if we got a major clue on how they're doing it, of course they're going to, maybe sabotage. I don't know if they're changing scripts. I know they had several scripts, and which one do they play out, And next time, I'm going to put whatever I need if I'm in that position again. When I got 2 covered and there's only 3 possibilities, I got to have coverage. I just need to take a lot off the table.
Right.
And, because I couldn't stood to win $14,000, But I also could stand, I was going to lose, a good share, a couple of G's, at least, if my backdoor got hit. Well, it did. But I'm a big man. I'm not blaming anybody. But as for anybody that wants to call people out and tell people to shut down, I think that's the wrong thing to do. You listen to everybody, let them have their fair say, because some of these guys are very good. And that guy from Jersey, he can be a pain in the ass. I know what you mean. I had to quiet some fires between him and Big Al, but he's a good guy, and he's an asset. And we have to be very careful who we have around us, because we don't know who's legit and who's not.
Sure.
I'm telling you, the guy's legit, bro. And
I know he's a good guy, man, because he won a nice chunk on the Tiger Woods Masters, and he went out and helped Rambo. But again, I will say that, again, just because what was different for me this year is I'm spending so much time decoding the daily games, and I'm also listening to a lot of people call in with all their different opinions, which rattles my own thoughts. And like a lot of times when I'm trying to do the live stream, like I'm about to decode something, and then somebody calls in and they talk for 20 minutes, and I can't remember what I was just going to do. And I mean, it's just like earlier this year when we were talking about the Niners thing. Maybe if I don't have 15 phone calls coming in a row, I remember to show people, okay, let's look at this Joe Montana thing more. But then I already forgot the idea because we're under like 15 different opinions and topics. So I know that this is part of the reason that things weren't as good this year. But we'll work it out. And again, it's like I said all year, I thought a lot of people were overanalyzing, because I'm always reminding people a lot of this stuff is just surface level. And speaking of surface level, we were right to look at those State Farm commercials all year. The mistake was that one of the last iterations of that commercial was Aaron Rodgers seeing all red in a nightmare. It's like, oh, come on, man. 49ers and Chiefs, I mean, it makes perfect sense. So
yeah, dude, if I ever get to see you in person, or if there's a place I can mail you something, I'll mail it. The feds will probably open up and then they'll know. I kind of want to tell.
Oh, shoot. His phone just dropped. Right after he says something about the feds, his phone just disconnects. Hilarious. I didn't do that, man. It just disconnected. If you guys missed the video I put out this morning on my news channel, which was really good, YouTube being the censorship platform that they are, they turned a 48-minute live stream, and all they played was the last 2 minutes of the video, and they kept it like that for 6 hours. And then I just had to re-upload the video, and then it worked this time. But they do that to all my live streams now, man. They like if it's a live stream's 2 hours, they'll just play like the final 10 minutes for the first 5 hours, then finally they'll put the video up. What's up, caller?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the last caller who talked about the MK Ultra, that whole thing. I believe it has to be true, because you couldn't pay. There's thousands of athletes, right? NFL, MLB, not just in our country, but all over the world.
Right.
You couldn't pay that many people to keep quiet for so long. It doesn't matter how much it is. or you could pay that many people to keep quiet.
Here, I'll make an argument. I'll make an argument against what you're saying. Freemasonry, secret society. They have secrets that millions and millions and millions of people know about, but most people in society have no idea about any of their secrets. They don't know their secret handshake. They don't know their secret word. So secrets can be kept. And again, masonry is what's running the world of entertainment. So how many of these people are Masons?
Yeah.
Think about the government. Government has thousands of employees that are sworn to secrecy. The secrets are kept.
Absolutely.
So secrets can be kept, man. But again, there's a lot of factors here. I do understand the point you were making. Some of these people might be under total mind control, so they don't leak anything as an extra layer of insurance. I agree with what you're saying. So that is true. And they also are all way overpaid. Because again, that's the argument I always make to people. Economics is about supply and demand. There are tons of good athletes in the world. No athlete needs to be paid this much. It's just... and again, for the people who think the best athletes are in pro sports, take a look around. Shaun Hill. You think Shaun Hill's one of the best athletes? You think Shaun Hill belongs in the NFL? Shaun Hill is a joke. I can throw the ball 10 times better than Shaun Hill. I'm way faster than him. I have way better agility. I look at a guy like Shaun Hill and I think, why am I not making millions of dollars? That guy is a joke. Who's Shaun Hill's daddy? So, again, a lot of these people... Go ahead.
Wait, I think you're talking about Duck Hodges.
No, I'm talking about Shaun Hill.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, no, trust me. I'm talking about Shaun Hill, who played for the 49ers for a number of years. He even took Alex Smith's jobs for a moment. No, trust me. I know exactly what I'm talking about. A guy who can't throw the ball for shit.
Okay, I get it. I think it's a mix. Like some guys, you can just, hey, you want some money and make them go to training camp, whatever the case may be. They keep a secret. Other guys, they have connections, if you will. I think it's a mix.
Yeah.
That's just what I think. And it can't be all just one thing.
Sure. It's layers of deception.
Also, you talked about the way you wanted to structure pro sports, how you want it all local. I think a lot of people would disagree with that because not everyone wants to play for their city. Like for you, for example, you went to Arizona State, you're from Oregon, Portland.
Well, that's in the world we live in now, man. Going to college to be away from your family and stuff who's driving you nuts isn't the same as, like, the reason why... again, for my idea about sports is, yeah, if you want to play for a city's team, you should be from that region. You should be living in that region. You should have some sort of connection to that city. Because then is any city's team even really their city's team? How many teams even have a single player on their team that's from that area? A lot of them don't. It's like almost amazing. It's like, so.
Well, what we could do. This is my suggestion. So how the MLB has AAA, AA, single A. Like we could do the developmental, the first base team, if you will. That you have to be from that city. And then you just advance from there on. But, like, the thing that makes locker rooms is all the different backgrounds. How lame would it be for everyone to have you're all from the same city, you're all from the same background?
It doesn't. I didn't say you have to be from the city, but you should have some sort of establishment there. You should have lived there for some period of time. You grew up there.
But also, it would make it boring because...
I don't think so. Why would it be boring? Then you'd actually know who's got the best region and players.
Let me make my point. Cities like Boston, cities like Montreal, they would always win hockey, football. You know what I'm saying? And a team from Arizona wouldn't have a chance. It would be just unfair.
Well, some places probably would have a geographic advantage, but you know what? To me, that would be authentic. It'd be like, yeah, the reason they whoop everybody's ass at hockey is because hockey's their thing up there. And, if Arizona wanted to get better at hockey, well, I don't know. To me, that's fine. I mean, look at the way sports are now. You look at the Lakers and the Celtics with all their rigged championships. They have almost half of them. Look at the Yankees. I mean, teams dominating. At least they dominate in an authentic way. So, and honestly, I mean, hockey's like the rare example because most people can't afford to play hockey anyway. It's expensive to keep a frozen rink and all this. So, I mean, it is a sport, but hockey's like hockey. pretty much every other sport you can play in any geographic area, and so.
Well, we disagree, but I mean, I do think it's best for multiple teams to be there in this. You know, we all have our expertise. Different.
You're cutting out a little bit. All right. Yeah, it cut out worse. I can barely hear you.
I'm sorry, now you can hear me.
Yeah, now I hear you.
Yeah, I'm on speaker now. What I was saying is, we all have our opinions, whether we agree or disagree. It's all good for us in this community of ours to...
And again, hold on, just to go back to what you said, I mean, you're kind of like misinterpreted what I said, because I said, again, teams should be from, like, if you play for a team, you should be from that geographic region. Like, for example, I live in the Pacific Northwest. There's not, in this big area, there's not a whole lot of, like, Portland and Seattle have teams. You know, Idaho doesn't have a team. You know, so, I mean, again, like, who are you going to play for if you're from Idaho? Well, you'd be part of that region to, like, Portland or Seattle. So, again, I just think it would be way better if teams were actually represented by people who were from those communities. And you know what? If there was a city that just wasn't competing and stuff, like, they just didn't have it, well, they're going to have to step their game up, you know? They're going to have to step the game up, so.
I mean, leagues would really... I don't think people would watch, to be honest, that way. I mean, we disagree on that.
Again, I don't even know where your opinions are based in nothing. I got to say that, man, because you're just saying you don't even know what anything would be like. I'm saying if you actually had teams, like if a team is called a city's name,
none of us would.
Again,
none of us would. Really.
All right, I'm gonna move on. Sorry, I'm not that interested in what he's saying. Again, if a city's gonna have a team, and it's that city's team, then they should have people that are from that area, that city. Like, you wonder why these athletes don't give a shit about their team and all the money. You got Damian Lillard from the Bay Area doing Hulu Has Sports, shooting his money guns, and then back from his money gun commercial, he's dribbling into a crowd of 5 people and throwing the ball out of bounds. It's like, okay, what the fuck's wrong with you? All of a sudden you can't play basketball? Yeah, you know, I mean, I'm just tired of this bullshit. These guys don't give a fuck about the cities they play for. This guy's trying to make an argument like, just talking out of his ass. Caller?
Hey, what's up, man?
What's up?
Hey, I just got a couple thoughts for you. So, the San Francisco wins the Super Bowl, that'll be 33-19.
Your phone is so quiet. Can you do something about the volume here?
Yeah, I'm it up. What about now?
That's way better.
So if San Francisco wins the Super Bowl, they'll be 33-19. They have a 33-19 playoff record since the merger. This is a date with 33 numerology. And the other thing is the Super Bowl is 4 months and 9 days to Joe Montana's birthday.
Another connection. Did you say that the 49ers would be 33-19 in the playoffs since the merger?
Yeah, if they win.
That's an interesting, because it's also 52 games, and 49ers has the 52 connection. Number 52's on the field as the ref, Bill Vinovich.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little tricky there. Because if they lose, they'll be 5-2. But I really like that 666 you're talking about.
Yeah.
The Steelers.
Yeah,
man, just gonna keep it short there.
Yeah, for all the people that don't know, this is Bobby, who's the first guy that got the tip that I was like, God, we got to consider the Niners too, man, because he saw in week 3 the ritual with the game against the Steelers, and I was like, that is incredible. So it's all about 50, man. Okay, yeah, great work, Bobby.
All right, man.
All right, take care. Yeah. Again, that's why there's just so many things to look at. You can look at the stats for the history of the NFL. You can look at the stats within the modern era. That's after the first 4 Super Bowls. And, this season, they did something special. And then at the same time, you just look at how the surface level the Joe Montana stuff was. Again, it's a QB-driven league. Joe Montana, he was the greatest ever until Tom Brady and the Patriot Act. So, but yeah, again, if you missed the video, hopefully it uploads right away for the live stream so you can watch the beginning. Again, in the beginning, we did everything about just how structured this is around Joe Montana, even things like 116 points being scored in the conference games. And Joe Montana's birthday is 11/6, like 116. So, we'll leave it there. Patreon will be talking a lot more about the NFL. Probably, I don't know if I'm going to put out any more public information for the Super Bowl until maybe after the game. I might do one more for the public, but again, trying to get more people to support this movement and put a few dollars behind it to build up the resources to hire a team of people to take it to the next level. That is the goal. So we'll leave it there, Truth Seeker. Till next time.